So this is the 15th of January, and it is time to start some seed. What I normally do is start pepper seed about a week before my tomato seed. The reason being, pepper seed is, peppers take a little bit longer to germinate and to come up and get those first true leaves and such. So I like to start the peppers first. That way I don't have a tray of, because I plant all mine intermixed, tomatoes, peppers, whatever, in that seed starting tray right there. But the peppers will, if I didn't do that, the peppers would, the tomatoes and stuff would come up, and then the peppers would come up later, and the tomatoes could shade them out from the grow lights and stuff. So I try to start my peppers first and let the tomatoes come up. Plant the tomatoes about a week from now and let the tomatoes come up at about the same time and grow at about the same rate. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm using this Pro Mix from Haas Tools. I believe they've changed brands, but they still offer a seed starting mix. And the reason you want that is it's so fine. It's been in the barn for a year, so it's kind of clumpy from humidity. But it's just real fine. There's not a bunch of bark and twigs and sticks and stuff in there. So seed starting mix is always the best way to go if you can find some. Haas again sells I think it's called a Sun Pro or a Sun something. They sell a different brand, but it's still a seed starting mix. That's what you need to go with. So let me go wet this down. Normally I'll put it in there dry, but this time I'm gonna put it in there wet. So I'm gonna wet this down a little bit and then put it in, and let's plant some peppers. Okay, I've got my mix wet, about the consistency of oatmeal, maybe a little thicker than that. And I've got my heat mat on. This is a Seedling, this black thing here is a Seedling Heat Mat. I'm gonna take this wet mix and put it in my tray. Get it down in those cells. This is much easier if it's dry, and most of the time I do it when it's dry, but then you got to go out and water it, and I'm just trying to kill a couple of birds here with just one batch of seed starter. So get down in the trays, the cells of this tray. This is a seed tray from Haas Tool. It's a 162 cell tray, and it is, I've shown you before how it's just so heavy, stiff. This thing will last for many years, decades probably, if you don't run over it with your tractor or something, which I probably could do pretty easy. Get those down in there. Sure is easier when it's dry to just scrape it down in there. So, but this will be better. The seed mix is starting to heat up even as I put it in there, because the heat radiating from that heat mat. And since I started using the heat mat, and that's been years ago, but since I started using the heat mat, the success rate for germination is just night and day. They really germinate much better. Everything germinates much better if you got a heat mat. Put more in there. So that's it. Now the reason I put my finger in it is twofold. I want to make an indentation for that. I want to pack it down, but I also want to make an indentation for that seed. And then I'm gonna come on top of it with a light dusting of the Pro Mix, the seed starting mix, on top of the seed I've got in here. All right, so clean my hands up so I can handle the seed, and we'll keep going. Well, I've only got 3 types of pepper seed right now. Probably gonna get maybe 1 or 2 more, so I'll save a couple of rows. I'm gonna do 1 row each, which is 9 cells, so 9 plants of the new heatless habanero It's called a roulette, and I don't know whether that means you're taking a chance biting into it or not. But roulette, heatless habanero. I just can't eat the hot stuff. Maybe you can, and you're laughing at me because I'm a Texan supposed to be eating that stuff, but I can't. So the heatless habanero, a good bell pepper. That's the King Arthur bell pepper, and the Mamma Mia Rosso. Last year I planted Mamma Mia Giallo, and it's just a big, oh, they'll get 2 inches around and 5 or 6 inches long, 8 inches long. It's just a real good Italian roasting type pepper. You could stuff it, you could roast it. It's not hot, but it's got a real good flavor, especially if you let them turn red. And we normally don't let them stay that long, but if they turn red, there's a lot, got a lot more sweetness to them, like most peppers. So I'm gonna plant those 3 right now, which would only be 3 rows in this thing, but that's enough for right now. And then we'll come out in days to come with some tomatoes about a week from now. But for right now, let's put some peppers in the trays. So I'm gonna start out with the habanero. I'm really excited about those. Being able to eat a habanero and not die. That's pretty cool. So excited about that. Now I got friends and relatives that just throw them peppers back, them big hot peppers back like there ain't nothing to it. I just can't. So since, and this is just something I'm doing this time, I don't do it every time, but since peppers are harder to germinate, I'm gonna put 2 in each cell, and I'll come back and thin once I see, if I see 2 of them coming up. The germination rate on these is 90%, so it's very likely I'm gonna get 2 in all of these cells. So got those done. Now I will put the probe in. I'm gonna hang this up. Right now it's 70 degrees. I didn't see that or not. But I'm gonna put the probe in. That's something you never wanna hear, is it? All right, I'm gonna put that probe in, and I'm gonna send it all the way pretty close to the bottom of that cell. And that's the way the thermostat works. The thermostat is set at 78. I'll have to check it when it gets up to 10. Pretty sure it's set on 78, which is a good generic temperature for most any of the vegetables, 78 to 80. So I've got it set. Having the probe in it should bring it up and then stop it at 78. We'll just hold it there. I'll probably come in here and put a layer of saran wrap on top. But first, I need to dust it just a little bit. You don't want to cover, those are real tiny seeds, so you don't want to cover them too deep. So I'm just going to come on top, just barely dust it. That's going to be probably 1/8 of an inch deep, thereabouts. And the fact that I watered it ahead of time is going to help, because I've made a mistake here lately of watering it too coarsely after I planted some seeds, especially a real small seed. Water it so coarsely that I don't know whether I probably washed the seed off, because a lot of them didn't germinate, and I do believe it's my fault, especially like some carrots or something that's just real small. Just a tad more. And that is done. I want to make sure the seed gets good contact with the potting mix. So I'm going to do that. Push that seed down in there. Push that mix on top of it. And so those 3 rows are planted. Now let me show you my row markers. What I use for row markers, and it just comes in so handy. So what I use for markers is just old Venetian blinds. Just that 1-inch plastic Venetian blind. I find some, we've taken some down over the years, and I just keep them. I cut them into about 7 or 8 inch pieces. Depends on whether I'm going down in a big pot. Like if I'm propagating something or something like this, I wouldn't need a very long one for this small tray. But those are really good, and I mark them with a paint pen. A paint pen will last throughout the season. A Marks-a-Lot will not. Marks-a-Lot will fade real quickly. So if you want to mark them and keep them for the entire season, then you need to go with a paint pen. I highly suggest a paint pen. I'll put a link down below to paint pens, to the heat mat. In fact, Haas has heat mats you may want to look at. I'll have my associate link down below to Haas. They've got the good seed starting mix. Of course, they got all these seeds and then some. Just one of the best sources for seeds that you're going to find. So I highly suggest Haas. So I've got those painted with paint pens. So we got habanero first. Heatless habanero. Did I tell you I was excited about that? The King Arthur Bell. They just see how they're so thin. That's one reason I like them. They're so thin that they slide down in there. They don't disturb your soil, your potting mix, anything like that. So I'm gonna look for some more seed. I think I've got some different, couple of more different kinds. I've got 4 more rows that I can plant. And it's just, I'm liable to do that, plant 4 more rows of peppers. Again, don't need that many peppers. I'm gonna give some away, neighbor, brother, and just want everybody to have this. I want everybody to try that heatless habanero. So we're going now. We've got some things started. I will cover these with lightly. I'm not gonna wrap it or anything, but just cover this lightly with some saran wrap, something like that. And that'll help hold the heat in from just coming up through there, and it'll also keep the moisture in there, and I won't have to water them quite as often. Something like this, I'll probably come in here with a little spritzer, and just, if I see them get a little dry, I'll just come in here and spritz it. I'm not gonna take it outside and water it because I don't want to risk disturbing that seed, especially once they just want to start germinating. Boy, you don't want to disturb those things. So looking forward to spring, looking forward to a good garden this year. Had the best garden last year I've ever raised, and I attribute it not to my skill. I attribute it to Haas Tools and the seed I got from them, the fertilizer especially, and that Micro Boost. Man, the Micro Boost and the 20-20-20 water soluble. I put it in my containers, my blackberries, my fruit trees, all my vegetables, and it has just been amazing. I'm gonna go this year with in my earth boxes and containers and such, I'm gonna go with an organic fertilizer that Haas has, a 543, and gonna try that. But after they come up and after they get going and established well, I'm sure I'm gonna go back in there with some of that 20-20-20 and that Micro Boost, because it may, again, I've told you before, it made me look like a hero last year. I've never grown a garden like that. I was flush with food, and that's where you need to be too. Please, please, please plant a garden. Please start to prepare. Get some seed going if it's time in your area. Start your seeds about 6 weeks before you're gonna put them in the ground. So wherever you live, count back from your last frost and your best planting date. If it's, middle of March, or if it's even into April or whatever, or May even, I don't know, depends on where you live. Count back 6 weeks and then start your plants from that point. And they'll need to be about 6 to 8 weeks. Probably 8's better, but 6 to 8 weeks old when they go into the garden. All right. I think we've talked about this quite enough. So we are gone.